Welcome to the Unicorn Connector Show, where we talk about relationships, revenue, and referrals. We'll dig into opportunities for people to generate revenue by making referrals from the relationships they establish. We'll also cover tips to grow your network, leverage it, and get paid residual income for life. Today is an awesome event because we have Alex Cardona on the show, who is a super great connector and knows exactly how to generate revenue by making connections and introductions to people that solve what they're looking to accomplish. When I met Alex, we really just hit it off. He is super motivated and driven to accomplish not only his dreams, but help other people accomplish their dreams too. We have so many synergies that we just couldn't resist from getting each other on each other's shows. He's actually got me coming up on his, and so just made perfect sense to have him on today, where we're going to talk about revenue and how you can generate revenue as a connector by leveraging some of the resources that we've got set up, that he's got set up, and your internal networks as well. So without further ado, welcome Alex Cardona to the show. Really grateful to have you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about
Daniel, what a great introduction, man. I'm excited to be here. I love talking on other people's platforms because oftentimes I'm hosting a show. So it's nice to be on the other side of the platform. And you were right, man. When we met, it was just like, dude, I found a brother all the way out there in Utah that I didn't know I had. So I'm going to check my ancestry tree to make sure that we're really not related. But I love the way that we hit it off. And yeah, man. So my name's Alex Cardona. Those of you who do not know me, what I do is I do a business called Cardona Business Solutions. And within that, what I do is I help business owners connect to their needs within business, because you can't wear all the hats in business. It's very hard to do that. So you got to create great systems. I'm learning that as being, an entrepreneur myself. You had to know how to be able to adapt and change and how to be able to hire good help. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs really look at their systems in their business. Where can they outsource some of their times so they can stay focused on making the money? Because that's ultimately, we're in it for a couple other things, but money helps, right? I know money doesn't solve every problem, but it's a good down payment. So that's what I do.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that. Money doesn't solve every problem, but it's a good down payment.
Darn right.
That's great. That's great. And so that's why, with the Unicorn Connector Show, we're all about relationships, revenue, and referrals. And so, there are ways you can tap into the relationships that you've got to generate revenue, and sometimes just by making referrals. So today we're talking about some of the different hats that you wear as business owners that you really generally don't want to. Not only that, but really shouldn't be wearing. There's so many things that you can get into trouble by trying to do everything yourself that it's just totally unnecessary. So we're going to dig in a little bit about, some of the different ways you can do that by offloading some of the different things that, like I said, you shouldn't be doing, that not only will generate income for your business, but also free you up to do some of the things that you love the most, right? So, Alex,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the experiences you've had with offloading some of the different things in your life to generate income while saving you the time to do the things that you enjoy the most?
Man, what a great question. And I feel like, we got to preface this in saying, it's not your fault. Okay. There's a lot of different areas in life that people operate from. One of them is I know what I know what I don't know. And the other one is I don't know what I don't know. And what I'm saying about that is when you look at business development and look at, businesses, 4.4 million Americans started a business between 2020 and 2021. And a lot of people didn't know what they didn't know about running a business. I was one of them, so oftentimes you got to learn as you're trying to make money, because you go from, I call it the breaking of the W-2 mindset. Because you go from a W-2 position, most of us go from, having a job, having a steady income, whether we perform, not perform, feel good, not feel good. We know that every biweekly, we're going to get another paycheck. Whereas when you go from, that type of system to actually running a business, it is a complete different set of skills. And ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to combine two things, which is time and money. Okay, that's ultimately why you went to business. And there's a whole equation about this that one of my mentors told me. And he said, job plus time plus money is equal to lifestyle. And the reason why most people are in business is because they're trying to combine time and money because they don't have the lifestyle that they wanted by being in a job. And the idea of business is to combine those two things, get rid of your job so that you can live the lifestyle that you want. But when you look at the lifestyle that you want, often things that you got to come down to is where are you spending your time? What is it that you want to be doing? Who is it that you want to be around? And these are hard questions to answer. So as I've gone around into multiple different business networking rooms, meeting a lot of different business owners, I'm a 1% networker. What I mean by that is a lot of people think that a business card is an invoice. So a lot of people go into these networking rooms and then they don't do anything after that. Like they don't call anybody, don't follow up with anybody, they don't do a lot of different things. And that's okay. I've learned to do that, and I've learned to have a great skill in connecting with people. And by doing that, I've heard, hey, I'm the attorney in my business. And that's one of the things that I specialize in. And we'll probably break off into that conversation a little. But I'm the attorney in my business. I'm the CPA in my business. I'm the marketing coordinator for my business. I'm also, the bookkeeper. I'm also, the person who's funding my business. And it's overwhelming to play all of these different roles within a 24-hour day period. Because if you sleep 8 hours of the day or 7 hours of the day, and then you only have 8 hours to operate in your business, you really have about an hour to delegate to each one. And that's not including lunch, and that's not including breakfast, not including, if you have any kids or dogs or anything like that. So really being time effective is a skill that I've had to learn. I'm not great at it, but what I am doing is I'm helping business owners really learn how to outsource what resources are out there so they don't have to play those roles. Because ultimately, there's certain things you do to make a dollar. And although it might be fun to be the bookkeeper or the attorney or the CPA or, the marketing person, the reality is that when you are playing all of these roles, you take yourself out of what makes you money. And that's where I think that outsourcing is the best thing you can possibly do.
Absolutely. And that's one of the huge reasons that we created Unicorn Universe is to give people a platform to outsource some of the things that they generally would need to do, but still generate revenue by referring business to those partnerships, right, that we've set up. So what's awesome about today's call is that we're going to talk about how you can do that too, and some of the things that Alex has done to do that as well. So before we get into that, Alex, I was very impressed when I was reading, a little bit about you. You're located in Asheville, North Carolina, right? You really had some impressive accolades with growing your business, generating influence in that region. And if anybody's watching this, whoever's on, we'd love to know where you're at, because we're all about connecting people for personal and professional reasons. And if you're anywhere close by, we want to make that happen. So we love to know where people are at. So by all means, say hello, drop it in the chat. And if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to let us know. So Alex, your experience in Asheville and specifically with creating your own business, I'm curious, really what it means to you to be an entrepreneur.
Oh man, Daniel, that's a big question right there. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? Oh, man, I just did a show about this on my show, The Golden Key. I did a monologue about it because I think it's more than just being an entrepreneur. For me, I'm an entrepreneur of color, too. I'm a minority. I'm a Hispanic and Black male being in the business world. I think that it's different for me. For me, it's about continuing my family's legacy. My mom came over here as an immigrant from the Dominican Republic and didn't speak a lick of English. And now she's been teaching for over 30 years. And granted, my grandfather on my father's side, and there's a lot of different, monumental people that were in my family that allowed us not to be in the poverty that we could have been in. And so with that, they emphasized getting an education, working for someone else. And I did those things. It's not like I don't have an education or anything else to fall back on. But one of the things that I've learned about being an entrepreneur is anytime you have another man or another woman telling you how much you're worth, how much time you have in your life, you're really not living a life of faith. And being an entrepreneur, I think what I find to be so magical about it is that you have an opportunity. I never know who it is I'm going to meet, what words I'm going to say to them that they may or may not want to do business with me. I never know where my name is going to be taken to because of how I treat people. And oftentimes you got to do all these things while you have your own stuff in the background. And being able to compartmentalize, maybe some issues that you might have going on, as well as being able to show up for other people, is a very hard skill to master as an entrepreneur. But one of the reasons I'm able to do that is because of the fact that I really do believe in my foundation of knowing that I'm here for a purpose, of knowing that I'm here to do something great, not only for myself, but also for my community. When you first make $1 million, that $1 million isn't all for you. Some of that is to go back to your community. Some of that is to go back to people that, need another opportunity. And as a community pillar, there's a responsibility as an entrepreneur to give back to people who've paved the way for you to be in the seats that you have today. Somebody once said this, and it really kind of blew my mind. You are privileged to have the problems that you have today because somebody along your family line, whether that be through your own family or through someone else's family, paid a price for you to be in the room and you to be, where you're at today. Like, not everyone starts, at $1 million or wherever it is, unless, you're one of Donald Trump's kids, which I'm sure that's great. But are you really learning? And I'm just saying that, for me, being an entrepreneur, even those kids, let's take Trump's kids, it's not to be political, but look at all the stuff that his father had to do and he had to do, right? So eventually, when you're an entrepreneur, you have a responsibility to really break generational wealth and break generational curses. And that's why I think being an entrepreneur really is. It's about showing up 100% in faith. I never know what's going to happen. I never know where things are going to go per se. And then the other thing is a lot of self-development. Like who I am today, I've grown more as an entrepreneur than what I ever did working for someone else. And that's the part. Darnell Self, who's $1 million ring owner in the company that I work with, Legal Shield, he says something that just sticks in my brain all the time. He said, it's not about the amount of money that I made. It's about who I became as I made the money. And that's something that I feel like gets underrated in entrepreneurship. We look at people that are successful and we say, oh my gosh, that's awesome. They're buying this, they're doing that. But we don't ever really look at what they've ever had to overcome within themselves to be in that position of responsibility so that they can then influence other people. And I think that's one of the biggest things in entrepreneurship. So not only is it the attitude of faith that you constantly have to show up knowing that, the universe or God or whoever you believe in is going to show up for you. But then on the other end of that is being able to really become an amazing person through the vehicle that you serve people in. And that's what entrepreneurship is to me.
Alex, that is such an amazing answer. And, it really ties in the dream that you told me that you have. And, I'd love to hear kind of more about how you plan on accomplishing that dream, which, for everybody listening, he had stated that his dream is to help other minority entrepreneurs find the courage to step into their divine roles. So everything that you just said directly ties into that, I feel like. And I just love that. So tell me a little bit about that. It sounds like some mindset working that you plan on doing with entrepreneurs. Tell me kind of how you plan on doing that and what you're doing to accomplish that.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up. I kind of forgot that was one of my goals because I got so many, but ultimately,
I bet you do.
I do. I'm like constant. But that's definitely one of the things that I think will be, again, I can't take, I can buy cars, homes, whatever, boats, you name it, any material thing, and you can't take that with you. Ultimately, I really do feel like what you leave as an entrepreneur is you leave a trail for someone else to say, I can do it too. And that's really where I want to go in my business. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm trying to put on more speaking engagements. So we have the business resource seminar that is going to go over a lot of different things. It's going to go over fundamentally, how can you outsource different needs in your business? It's going to go over, mindset. One of my blessings in last year was I found out about subconscious reprogramming. I had no idea, but I heard about the id, ego, and super ego, but I never knew how much subconscious thinking influences your habits and behaviors. And again, I'm not perfect. And anytime I speak, I like to say that I'm talking with you. I'm never talking at you because, I think a lot of times people have platforms and then, you speak and then people think like, oh, he's speaking at me. Like he doesn't go through his own stuff. Like, no, I got my own problems and I got my own things that I'm working on. I just choose to work on them, every day. That's just the difference. And so, I'm always in the trenches, with business. And I just say that like one of the things I found out was how you think, what you say to yourself, how that influences your behaviors, your outcomes, and then how you're able to time block. When you go from a W-2 to CEO, think about this. A W-2 person, you work a job, you clock in. It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to get paid a certain amount per day. Somebody controls your time. They tell you how much you're worth. They tell me where you can go. They tell you all these different things. And when you say, you know what, I'm fed up with this. I'm tired of all this. I'm going to go work for myself. What people don't really understand is that they control their own time and they control their own personal development. And oftentimes you can't stay in the same circles that you were in order to really see the flourishment of business. You got to step out into something else. And so when it comes to minority entrepreneurs and what it is that I'm trying to show them is I've been in a room where it's just all white people. And listen, there's no offense to that. I've done business with white people, Spanish people, Asian people, black people, you name it. But I think that what happens is that when you walk into a room, a lot of people feel intimidated. They feel like, oh my gosh, I don't fit in. And instead of saying I don't fit in, I think that the conversation should be my name was already in this room way before I walked in, and that goes back to that, again, that principle of faith. Like, if you have that in your business journey, because you don't know where you're going to get $1 from, because you don't know if your business is going to be successful. But if you're able to just say, you know what, I'm doing the right activity, usually the outcome comes out. But a lot of people are afraid of just doing the activity. A lot of people are afraid of stepping into those rooms. So I hope that as a minority entrepreneur, as I continue to have more success and more power, more influence, more, I hope that I can continue to inspire other entrepreneurs to do the same thing, because I'm not a rocket scientist. I just showed up. And as I continue to show up and I continue to show up in different rooms and meet different people and have great interactions, some of the most beautiful things have happened by that. And I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff that you can't even script. And I think that is where a lot of minority entrepreneurs need to just kind of buckle up and show up. Because I feel like Martin's dream was just for us to be at the table, but it wasn't us to be fed at the table. It was for us to be at the table and talk about what we bring to the table. And it was on us to feed ourselves. That was the whole point of the dream. At least that's what I feel. So that's what I hope to do in my longevity of being an entrepreneur.
Alex, that's awesome. And I love in general, I just love the topic of a discussion of moving away from a W-2 role and stepping into your own business type of role. And, it's not for everybody. But, what's interesting is so many people that are in a W-2 role have these ideas that they would love to run their own business, but they like the security of a job, right? Which I find ironic because, your job security is based on one person making a decision whether or not you have a job that day, right? And so
absolutely,
I think, having that mindset of even just if it's a side hustle that you do, that is more security, in my opinion, than having all of your eggs in one basket, not even your own basket. You don't control your income. You don't control your time. You don't control any of it. And somebody, we've seen it. I don't know how many times, I'm super active on LinkedIn. It's like every day there's a new wave of layoffs, and it's like, how do you protect yourself from that? And so people that have an interest in getting into entrepreneurship, and this conversation today is a perfect way to, segue into what you can do to actually be successful with that. So many times they think that they got to do it all themselves. Right. And so, how important would you say that it is to leverage other people's skill sets that are the experts in their field to do the things that they do best, so you can focus on the things that you are passionate about?
Oh my gosh, it's one of the most important things. That's a great, just comment you made, Daniel, because I do feel like a lot of people say, there's comfort in the job. And there is to an extent, but there's not a lifestyle. And listen, everyone has a lifestyle. It's just how you choose to live it. Okay. So like some of us want to have the same monotony and want to have the same routine and want to have the same person. But here's the thing, like, again, you got to go back and ask that person, hey, can I have more time with my family? Hey, can I have more money? Hey, can I do this? Right. And your life is subjected to whatever it is that person says you're going to make. Right. Entrepreneurship, whole different ball game. You can make. I represent a company. One of the companies that I represent is Legal Shield. We have access to an attorney in all 50 states through the convenience of an app. And what's great about that is when I started this business, first of all, if you're looking to start a business, I'm telling you, because I have a business and then I have a brand. Okay. So my main business is Legal Shield. What I do is I help different business owners get access to an attorney in all 50 states through the convenience of an app so that they can make the most legal, clear decision possible without having to spend a whole lot of money on hiring an attorney. So that's its own brand. Legal Shield has its own brand. I am not the owner. That is as far as I can go with that. However, my other brand, Cardona Business Solutions, is something that I've created through my Legal Shield business. Okay. And here's what I'm trying to say. Oftentimes when people say, okay, I want to start a business or I want to start something, I think they think, okay, I want to just sell products, but they don't think about like, do you have a system that you can possibly use to help you then get to where you want to get to? So what I mean is when I started my Legal Shield business, I had a flat rate to get started. I had an opportunity to go for a few bonuses. I had an opportunity that I had a system that was already in play. I basically bought a franchise. Okay. And then I was able to perform with that. But then with Cardona Business Solutions, I had to think about all of the different, I had to think about the logo. I had to think about the branding. I had to think about so many different things that I didn't have to think about in my Legal Shield business. But I'm going to tell you what the benefit was. The Legal Shield side business was allowed me to make money equity fast, right? Allowed me to talk to a business owner. We can talk about how we can protect them legally. We can talk about, their wills or individuals. We can talk about their wills. We can talk about different things and I can make equity fast. Whereas Cardona Business Solutions had its own development and it still is in its development phase of actually getting all the right pieces in together. And so ultimately, the ability to outsource is just like amazing because I'm not trying to be an expert at it all. Like I'm telling you, I got a CRM lady. She does a great job at her CRM. Like she's my lady. She's my go-to. I have another lady that does my branding and does my logo. Fantastic. I don't have to think about that. I have a producer for my show. So all I do is bring my client on or bring my interviewee on and my production team does the production. Like I don't do all of this stuff. And people ask me all the time, how do you do podcasts or how do you do this? How do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I just hire great people around me. And I think that's ultimately where you got to get to.
Yeah. I love that. And it's funny because next week, our unicorn DNA focus of the week is surrounding yourself and doing business with the right people. So this all ties together super well. And, so I love this example of Legal Shield because you also mentioned that you have people for some of the branding work, I'm sure copywriting, somebody to help with the CRM. And all of those things are things that so many people do themselves, right? And while it might not be something that you want to do necessarily, sometimes it's what you kind of need to do, right? But when you talk about Legal Shield and just how valuable that is as a solution for offloading some of the hats, specifically the hats you really shouldn't do, that's where it is really impactful because you could really get into some trouble if you try to do your own legal work, right? And I love the model that Legal Shield has set up because it's so complementary for connectors, right? So, I'd kind of like to focus, if anything, on the Legal Shield side of things because that's just so smart, just the way that they've structured it to give people who are Legal Shield partners extra commission for bringing new people on. And it's just a great way to start, your own business while setting up a partnership with a company that can be the solution for those legal needs that you have or that other people have, because everybody knows somebody who's running a business. And most of those business owners, unless they're an attorney, don't have a clue how to handle their legal stuff themselves, right? And they 100%. Shouldn't. I mean, that's such dangerous waters to be playing in. So I love that. And I think it's really important. So I'm curious, how did you come across Legal Shield, and, why was it so important to you to get involved with them?
Man, thank you for that question. I feel like I've been holding back the real story until now. And now I'm to the place where it's all right. I have attorney on retainer, so it's all good. If you gonna sue me, let's go. So with that being said,
it's about to get juicy. Here we go, spicing it up.
Juicy. Oh man, but I want to say this, in regards to like a real issue that we do have in this country. Okay, and there's nothing more scarier for a minority male to be pulled over by the police officers. And I'm not saying that because I do believe that our police officers are great people. I do believe that our police officers are needed. I don't believe in the idea and the concept of defunding the police, just like I don't believe in the idea of the concept of a recession, because a recession to me is people, again, reliant more so on income versus being in this country what we came in this country to be, which was entrepreneur. If you look at the history of like America, we are entrepreneurs. Like the whole Boston Tea Party was because people got tired of being taxes. Why? Who got tired of being taxes? The entrepreneurs, the business owners, right? And so I say this with caution because I don't want to disrespect anyone who is in law enforcement, and I don't want to disrespect anyone who again, has family in law enforcement. But my situation was I moved up here to Asheville, North Carolina about 2 years ago in 2019, December 2019. And I went to go visit a cousin of mine in the middle of 2020. He was in Kentucky. And I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. I finally get to drive those country roads. Like, yeehaw, like I was great. And he was like 5 hours away. And I drove up to go see him for that one night. And then I ended up driving back. And on my way back, I had an experience that I'll never forget. I had an experience where I got pulled over. And I got pulled over by one officer, and then as things escalated, it ended up being more than just one. I ended up getting pulled over, and the officer obviously comes to the window and he asked me, my name, registration, all that stuff, and I politely gave him that information, right? Because I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm not going to make it home. And so what I did was I gave him that information, and then he kind of ran my information, and then he came back and he said, "Sir, where were you going?" Or where are you coming from? And I said, well, I'm actually coming. I don't really know because I just came up here for a night. And then then the whole interaction kind of changed. And it went from, sir, where you going, to, sir, would you mind if the dog search your car? And I was like, wait, what? Like, how did we get here? Like, I don't think I've done anything wrong. Like, it's crazy. So it went from that to that situation. And I remember I was outside the car. And it's funny because at that point in time, it was the middle of the pandemic. Okay. I cashed out 2 401ks to survive. And like, I jokingly tell people this. I tell them I got my PhD, which means I was poor, hungry, and desperate at the pandemic. Okay. It was pretty bad. And one of the things that I let lapse is I let my car insurance lapse, which is kind of crazy, but nobody was really driving anywhere. I didn't have a job. So I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I don't need that. Let me keep these 40, 50 bucks that I'm, having in. Right. And so I ended up, they didn't ask me for my insurance, which was crazy because had they had asked me for my insurance, I probably would have been arrested. But they didn't ask me for that. What they did, though, is they asked me to search the car. And at that point in time, I was doing personal training for some individuals. And I said, all you're going to find is workout equipment if you want to work out. Like, that's cool. So I ended up going through that experience. And I remember like one of the officers were talking to me while 3 officers were going through my car, and one of them was like underneath the hood. And I was like, yo, I hope we don't plant something. I've seen enough like crime scene movies where like, oh, we found this. And I'm like, oh no, that's not mine. But like, right, I didn't have any legal representation during that point in time. And I knew it was wrong. Like, I knew it was all wrong. But like Jay-Z says it, before you search the car, like, make sure you talk to my lawyer, please. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't even have a lawyer. So all in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to get arrested. Like, I just didn't know what was going to happen. And I said, man, this is kind of crazy. Like, I hope I don't get arrested. And it was funny because my wife and I, we've been together for 7 years now. Well, 10 years now. But we were about to get married. So I was more afraid of actually going to jail because I felt like if I went to jail and I didn't like well, I wasn't there at the wedding. Like, oh my gosh, I'd be like, yo, keep me in. Like, it's kind of good. Like, I don't want to get out at all. Because her reaction, oh my gosh, I was more afraid of that than what I was being in jail. Like, that's just, I was like, So it was kind of crazy because, that happened, and they ended up letting me go. All right. They ended up letting me go, and I ended up driving through Tennessee, and I got pulled over again. And I don't even know how serendipitously like this happened, but it did. I got pulled over again. And as I got pulled over, the officer, he comes to the window. He asked me for my license and registration. And here's what got really crazy to me. As I'm giving him my license and registration, I started involuntarily shaking. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, and of course, he's like, sir, is everything okay? And I'm like, sir, I'm going to be honest with you. I just got pulled over in Kentucky. They just searched my car. I have no idea why they searched my car. And I just want to make it home. And I remember telling him that. And I remember thinking about, in that situation, we had just came about like George Floyd. We had just came about like some of the crazy stuff that we had seen in the pandemic. And I was like, man, I could just imagine what those folks felt like, because I knew, like, that was my first interaction with law enforcement as a colored person, to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. And that to me was something that really highlighted the value of our product, because when I saw that for $29.95 a month, you can have an attorney on retainer for you and your family, 911 emergency access. We do traffic ticket assistance. We do a lot of different services. But to me, it was a 911 emergency access. So when my buddy told me about it, and his name's Daniel too, so I like to surround myself with sharp Daniels. But like, his name's Daniel. He told me about this, and he was like, you can have this type of protection. And I was like, dude, I needed that a week ago. And that to me changed my whole life, because I was like, there's a lot of things that I pay for. And in that one moment, I wasn't thinking about my Netflix account, my Hulu account, or nothing that. I was thinking about, holy cow, who am I going to call? What is my one phone? If I get one phone call, what is my one phone call? I'm going to call my mom, dad, wife, brother, sister. Like, I was running through, and I was like, what happens if they don't pick up? It was crazy. Future father-in-law, like, hey, I'm not going to marry your daughter because I'm in jail. Like, what does that look like? So it was crazy. It was crazy. And that's where I really, decided to empower our community. And then in 2021, what changed for me is I realized that we actually serve a lot of business owners. So I affiliated myself with the Asheville Chamber of Commerce. And what I did from there is I put myself in uncomfortable rooms where, I was one of the only minorities inside the room, and I met different people. And what's so great about this Asheville community is I love this community. This community accepted me for who I was, and it's given me so much. And that's why I'm on the mission to give back to the community, because, what you give back to it is ultimately everything. And so that's where Asheville kind of came into my life and really gave me the ability to grow as a man and as an individual, because a lot of people saw me for who I was, and maybe things I didn't even see in myself, but they gave me opportunities, and that's what allowed me to continue to grow. And that's when I focused really on business plans, and I started focused on helping other business owners. So that's kind of my story with that. But yeah, that's the long way, but that's the real truth. And that's why I love what I do. And I think it's important for our community. And I think it's important for, minority business owners. I think it's important for any business owner to have this product, but that's why I really do believe in the mission.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Alex. And, the fact that you took that experience and recognized that doing something to protect yourself in advance is just so smart. And, and I love that you mentioned that you're helping business owners with it, because, you put everything into your business, right? Your entire heart and soul. One mistake and it can be over, right? I mean, it's that easy, so it can happen personally or professionally, right? And so I love that they have plans that cover both, right? And it's just so slick, contract management, audit review, right? You can speak to an attorney if you have a question, like just all the benefits are just incredible. And so, and I love that, it ties into who you said your golden connection is, which you said it's a business owner that's struggling with clarity and looking for business partners that are open to helping you offer your legal services to their customers, right? And that just has so many benefits to it, right? this is something that you don't want to find yourself needing if you don't have it. You want it to be something that you have and never need, right? Because
Absolutely.
you never know what can happen, right? Like it literally comes down to one tiny little mistake and you could be behind bars, your business closed, and nobody wants that. Nobody in the world wants that, right?
100%. And there's a difference. I think one of the things you're touching on, Daniel, is there's one thing to know the law. It's one thing to have access to the law. Two different ball games.
Yeah.
I can know my Miranda rights, but in that situation where I described, I had no access to an attorney to emphasize my Miranda rights. Right. So like, that's where I think that this allows, when we saw what we saw, we're in a very unique time in human history. I really believe that because we saw the pandemic 2 years ago. We had that hybrid year in 2021. We had the year where there might have been monkeypox or whatever coming in 2022. I don't even know. And then we had now we're in 2023. So we're 3 years removed from the biggest pandemic that's happened since the 1908 major flu. I think that's what it was. So I say that because the only thing that kept America together was the laws. Whatever the laws were, that's the only thing that kept America together. But here's the thing. A lot of people were getting taken advantage of. And what's crazy about the people that are taken advantage of, they didn't have access to the law. So imagine if everyone in America had access to the law. What would that do for equality? What would that do for clarity? What would that do for people who are getting taken advantage of? It would do a lot, and I feel like we saw that in the pandemic. But then, one of the biggest things that we do is we do wills. And I cannot emphasize, we saw Prince die without a will. We saw Takeoff die without a will. We see a lot of people pass away who are celebrities with multi-millions of dollars. And normally to get a will done is about $1,500 just for an individual person. What's a will for Takeoff? What's a will for Prince, who are billion-dollar earners? They don't have wills. What's crazy to me is that people still don't take their situations and make it a situation where they learn and a situation where they say, you know what, I'm going to be prepared. My martial arts career taught me it's best to be prepared for every single scenario than unprepared for one. That's why you kick 100 times. That's why you practice what you practice, right? And so what's crazy to me is how many people today still don't have a will, still are hesitant to do a will, despite the fact we saw people passing away without their loved ones a year ago, and you couldn't even say goodbye to somebody who you really loved and cared about while they were in the hospital because it was shut down.
Yeah.
Yet they don't want to have a will. So that's why I think that the mission of why we do what we do, I think that it's a great way for me to partner with some business organizations that are doing very similar things. But then ultimately, I'm looking for more people who want to get themselves legally strapped for the world, because the world is a crazy place. It really is. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, that reminds me of one of my favorite phrases, which is that it's better to be prepared than it is to have to get prepared. Right.
Amen. Yep.
Because sometimes you can't prepare when it's too late. Right. So I just love that. And, when it comes to generating revenue as a connector for some of the things that you either don't want to or shouldn't be doing, Legal Shield is such a perfect example with you specifically, because, so often it's easy to set up these things that you don't really care about or you don't have a passion for. But I love this example because you're clearly incredibly passionate about it. And so when you're able to offload that work to a solution that you firmly believe in and are passionate about, you not only get to generate additional revenue, right, but you also get to help solve somebody's problem and potentially save them. I mean, their business. You could save their life if they end up getting locked up. You never know what can happen in there, right? And having that resource, this is the thing about it that I think is probably, the most beneficial of all the things, right? Is that when you're in that bind and you need somebody to call, you have that access, right? It's about access here. And as you were telling me just the other day, you don't want to be fumbling through an app. You don't want to be looking through your glove box. You want to know that there's a number saved in your phone that you can call and you say, here, speak with my attorney, right? You're not talking to me. I'm
100%.
exercising my rights, right? So,
Right.
and that changes the conversation. And there's this guy I got to connect you with, Carl Michelle, who he had a similar experience to you and went through a similar thing. And he's actually one of the people that really drove home that phrase that we're both using right now, that it's better to be prepared than it is to get prepared, right?
Yes.
Stay prepared. And that's what it's all about. So I just love it. I love that you're so focused on this. And, you know, for people that do want to, you know, look into it some more, we've actually set up a way for you to, you know, streamline getting connected with Alex. And so he can help you answer any of the questions that you have with this. He can get you set up with the plan, whatever you need. He's going to be the best guy to help you because he's so passionate about it. So one of the ways you can connect with him is if you go to cardona.unicornuniverse.io, that'll send an introduction email to him and he'll reach out and get you set up. And, you know, if it's not right for you, that's fine. But at least you know that it's out there and what the options are, right?
100%.
So I'm curious, Alex, you know, what other things might you have coming up that you want to talk about that are there to support business owners in being a connector and tapping into that entrepreneurial spirit?
This is where the Sagittarius and the entrepreneur spirit like combine, and it's like, I don't even know. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. So, you know, I really believe that, you know, if I stayed just doing one vehicle, doing, you know, Legal Shield, I'm really good at it, but I'd be capping my potential. And I'm not here to leave any inch of potential on the table whenever my name gets called back to go wherever it is I'm supposed to go. So with that being said, Cardona Business Solutions is the evolution of my business. What is it? Cardona Business Solution is a consulting agency that I'm building. And I'm building a consulting agency to help business owners really outsource and get connected to qualified people that I know within my network that can help them with their business needs. And the reason why that's so important is because of this. Number one, most people don't know how to step into a room and don't know how to close deals. And I'm really good at that. My nickname is Alex Close Donor because I close. Like, that's what I do. Like when it's time, okay? Like I even got different shirts for different days and different moods. Like I'm ready. And
it's my closing shirt. I got my money shirt on.
hey, when you see me wearing all black, you know I'm doing something, right? Like
that's awesome.
It's a vibe. I love the black uniform, right? So that's where I'm going with my business. It's Cardona Business Solutions is really, I've connected with some great people. Kind of like what you said, I have some amazing people in my corner. And another show topic, maybe another time, is I've also connected with great men in my corner. And I can't tell you as a male entrepreneur, the emphasis of having great men that keep you sharp in your corner, that are hustling the same way you are, that are doing things because they inspire me to move at a higher level. Like I get up because I'm like, oh no, Daniel Knight's up. Like when I saw your calendar the other day, I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Like it's great to have other men, you know, that are doing things, that are passionate about what they do in your corner. And that you can kind of go back and rely on and just kind of be like, hey, man, I'm going through this. And you know that they got you because they're in the trenches with you, you know? So Cardona Business Solutions is I've associated myself with some really good, highly qualified people. What I do is I start with the legal shield stuff. I start with, okay, do you have access to an attorney? Do you have your trademarks? Do you have your copyrights? What do you have? Okay, great, fantastic. Let's get those taken care of with this product, Legal Shield. Let's get it going. But then oftentimes it's more than just that. It's more than just like, oh, I need help with Legal Shield. It's like, no, I need help with funding. I need help with bookkeeping. I need help with networking. I need help with this. I need help with that. And so what I've done is I've created an ecosystem to help business owners really get the clarity by outsourcing their business needs, but then also having me come alongside and really kind of consult them with, where are you going? What is it that your outcome is trying to be? And how can we get there? And so that's what I do with Cardona Business Solutions. It's a whole different animal. One of the things that we're doing is that we're doing a business resource seminar. So on March 10th, it's going to be here in Asheville, North Carolina. And we're going to be talking about different topics. We're going to talking about breaking that W-2 mindset. It's something, again, that I'm going through as well. But how do you subconsciously break that W-2 habit? What things do you need to do? We're going to have speakers on different experts of topics that they're going to come in and they're going to talk about, different parts of what they do and why you should outsource that. And so that's going to be a great event. It's happening on March 10th. My idea with this model, this is the first event. My idea is to run it in Asheville at least 4 different times. And then I want to take it city to city to city because I like to be on the road. And that's where I like to be. So I'm hoping to bring it to Charlotte, and I'm going to bring it down, hopefully, to Greenville, bring it down to Florida. And I'm also hoping to, bring it to Utah, too, because I know you're out there. So yeah, man. So I'm looking to build a stage and get people the opportunity to really tell their stories, what they're proficient at, and all that. So the business resource seminar is happening March 10th, but then Cardona Business Solutions is my overall consultant agency. So if you're looking for a number 1, number 2 guy, which is what I am, I'm here for you.
That's awesome. So yeah, put it in the comments if you want to see the business resource seminar come to your city. Because, if you haven't been able to tell, Alex knows what he's talking about. He's got the passion. He's got the connectivity with all the different people that, you talk about surrounding yourself and doing business with the right people and having the right people in your corner. Going to events like this, hosted by incredible people like Alex, is one of the ways that you make that happen, right? Put yourself in the room with people that are smarter than you, people that know things that you might not know, that have been through things that you haven't experienced, that you can learn from and that you can add to your network and leverage for, other solutions that you might need. It's just a beautiful thing. So I love that you've got that coming up. I definitely can't wait to, collaborate with you on one of those events and, get them out here to Utah, Arizona, Florida. I know people all over the place. And we'd love to just set those up and make it happen. So if you like being on the road, then let's make it happen. So I love it. So business resource seminar on March.
Yep. I said the only thing I like being in more on the road is being in the air. So if we can get a Unicorn Universe jet, you know what I mean, and throw it out there. I'd love to be on it.
I have this dream to. It's very specific, actually, to have a unicorn jet. So it's a Unicorn Universe jet, but it's going to look like a unicorn, right? And then there's somebody on my team who has a dream of flying a plane, and so we're going to give her that. We're going to help make that dream happen. Let her fly our unicorn jet to our unicorn island when we do our unicorn birthday party in a tropical getaway retreat. There's a goal for that date. Ideally, we'll target 5 years from now. How does that sound? So
awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'll be LeBron's age in 5 years from now, so I got time.
Yeah. So all I'm letting someone on my team fly that thing, so we better still have our legal shield by then, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. That'd be a good idea. Make sure you get your will.
Yeah, exactly. In order to board the plane, you must have a will. If not, sign up for a legal shield.
That'd be fun.
And bundling things is a great way to, include a solution like that and just simplify the process, right? So just a little, just a thought. So, so, as we wrap up, I want to just ask, what's the best way to get connected with you? We talked about this link before. I'll put it back, cardona.unicornuniverse.io. That'll streamline the connection to Alex. But what are some other places, where are you most active on social media? And what do you recommend people do to get connected with you?
Oh, man, that's a great question. So I have a whole team. Again, I told you I had a team. I realized I can't do this all on my own. And so what's great about that is I'm actually working with my team to actually create a better situation for you to connect with me, which is going to be awesome. But it's going to be through my website. The main place you can connect me is going to be cardonasolutions.com, www.cardonasolutions.com. Okay. Then the other thing is right now you can email me. So cardona.legacy@gmail.com. That's a great way to find me. On IG, I'm under Alex Cardona, but my tag is cool like AC, not like air conditioning, but like AC, because it's Alex Cardona, baby. That's what we do. So like it's cool _ and then like AC. So that's my tag there. So you can follow me there, and then on Facebook as Alex Cardona. So yeah, I'm out here. Again, you can always connect with me via email. Connect with me right here on the Unicorn Universe site. Love to get you. First of all, this is a great organization, the Unicorn Universe. If you have not checked it out, I think that one of the things that we have to talk about is being a part of this group allows you to expand. Like one of the things that we saw in the pandemic is everybody's doing Zoom. So as you move into your business, and I know it's exciting to get back in the world, I get more energy being in the world than what I do, doing these online meetings sometimes. However, in the off chance that, and maybe not off, but in the chance that things get shut down again, which we don't know, it's good to have a diverse way to create connections. And I think that's what the Unicorn Universe allows you to do. It allows you to stay sharp on being in the virtual meeting so you can learn from great people, you can learn different strategies, you can make connections, and you can do it all from the comfort of your home. So I think it's a great way to diversify where you get your network versus just I'm an in-person type of guy, but just in case, things get shut down, join the Unicorn Universe, and that's a great way to diversify where you meet people.
Well, I really appreciate that, Alex. And, we do those weekly virtual connection calls on Fridays because we do love bringing people together in person, but we just love bringing people together and doing it every week. It's become easily the most magical meeting of every single week that I have. And so it's a lot of fun. I love bringing business owners together who are passionate about creating a positive impact in the world, like yourself, and helping them align with other connections that are passionate about a similar goal, And so then we'll go together these pop-up events that are in person, right? Like we talked about collaborating on, a future business resource seminar. And so I love it. I just love bringing people together. I love surrounding myself and doing business with the right people like you, Alex. And so it's just a magical time. So thank you so much for saying that. And we're honored and grateful to have you in the community. It's really just become such an incredible place, and in my opinion, to connect with like-minded individuals. So thank you for sharing that. So, let's wrap this up, my friend. Is there anything else you would like to share? Any last words for the audience and for the world?
Man, oh my gosh, for the world. Ooh, wow, this is intense. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Aubrey Baptista. She connected us, right? And I think that's she's somebody I've been working with, and she's done great, tremendous goals that she's been able to accomplish with her business, which is art therapy, kindred art therapy. So like definitely going to give her a shout out because and that's what I think the beauty is. I'll leave y'all with this. And somebody told me this, and again, I just soak it up like a sponge and I'm just a different voice in the locker room. But the rooms that you're in is just as important as the rooms that you're not in. Okay. And I say that because every room that you walk in, there's two things that I know I walk in with every single room, and I feel like needs to be heard and said by me, but then also by two other business owners and other people is every room you got to walk in with two things, purpose and intention. And without that, you got to know why you're there. And you got to know what the outcome is going to be. And I say that because sometimes I think that, going out there, building a business, it's a very hard thing to do. Making connections, it's a hard thing to do. And I'm extroverted. So I can only imagine if God put me as an introverted person, it'd be really hard. But I say that because when you know that you walk into a room, even I get, sometimes I'm like, man, I really just want to stay home today instead of like going out there and doing things, or man, I really want to, not do this. And one of the things that I always go back to, one of my cornerstones is kind of going back to that quote, why am I in this room? What am I doing? Is this room that I'm in or whatever I'm doing in this room, is that lining up with who I want to become? Because ultimately business is about making money, but it's also about, like I said before, who you become as you make the money. And so oftentimes you got to become somebody first. And if you don't have the money, it's because you haven't became who you need to become to have that blessing. But a lot of that can be reflected and found in the rooms that you're in. So if I give you any advice, just analyze your rooms, analyze what you're doing, analyze where you're going. And if you're in the wrong room, you can always change it, change the room, change the people you're around. And I'm just telling you, like, I know for me, it's done wonders. But I can only imagine what it does for other people who are listening to this show and can say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that, because taking action is one of the biggest things you could do. But look at your room, look at the people you're around. And if they're not helping you get into who you want to be or where you want to go to, it's time to change that room. It's time to change maybe why you're in that room. And you have the power to do that, because that's one beautiful thing about the human experience. We get to decide what our character is,
Right. I love that. And I loved what you said earlier, and everything you just mentioned ties directly into it, which was money doesn't buy happiness, but it's a great down payment. And,
Darn right.
It's all about the people at the end of the day. We focus on this show about revenue, relationships, and referrals. None of it happens without the relationships. And that's why it's so important to focus on the people and not the projects. And like Alex said, put yourself in the right room with the right people. And, there's a TED talk by Susan Pinker that talks about how being surrounded by people is one of the most important ways to increase your longevity on this earth. And so everything that you just said resonates with me in so many different ways. And I think it's incredibly important. So Alex, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you would like to connect with Alex, please reach out to him on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I think you said Instagram is best, or check him out. You can email him, cardona.legacy@gmail.com, or fill out the form at cardona.unicornuniverse.io, and you'll get connected him in a split second. So, thank you so much, Alex, for being here. I really appreciate it. This has been fantastic. And I hope that everybody listening, thank you as well. Have a fantastic rest of your day and week.
Thank you.
If you're looking to generate revenue by being a connector or by getting referrals for your existing business, then check out how Unicorn Universe creates abundance through connections in our community by going to unicornconnector.com. That's unicornconnector.com. Stay tuned, follow us, and hit the subscribe button as we expand on ways to grow your network, generate income from opportunities we avail, interview our partners and connectors, and show you how to become the magical unicorn connector that you are.